Welcome. In the last lecture of this semester, the video lecture of this semester, I will briefly look to the ILO reports. Basically, actually, I will look relatively put more attention into one report specifically, and then I will look to also a second report, basically. And ILO date statistics. When you enter this, actually, you can get to this website ILO Stat, which is a really good site on which you can have data on many different aspects of the labor market, and actually you can go down and you can also find some additional information like news, but also some reports, like for example on working poor, global wage report, global income share and distribution, volunteer work. So these are I mean the data is put into a special report and presented in that way. You can see how data can be presented looking to these reports. So my main focus is the employment. This is the wage report. My main focus is actually the other one. This one, World Employment Report. But I will also look to some data on the other one. I will briefly go down so that you can also see what exists in the report, and you are more than welcome to look, especially if you are interested on labor aspects and out of curiosity, or maybe for your because you might look for a potential project for one reason or the other. You might look. Now, this might be the first and interesting graph. You can see here the working age population of the whole world, which is 5.7 billion people. Out of these people, 39% is out of the labor force. This is 2.3%. These are the people who are underutilized, total labor underutilization, 473 million people. So 35% of them is the time-related underemployment. So they are partially they are not working full time. And then you have unemployed people, which is 188%, and then you have potential labor force. I mean, those people could be in labor force but not part of the labor force. Of course, the separation of this group, this bottom group, from the out of the labor force group, that can be a discussion basically. Probably part of the people in this group are the people with at least family responsibilities or disabilities. I mean, there are some real obstacles also for them to get to the actual jobs. Those obstacles probably doesn't exist in this group. And then you have 3.3 billion people who are employed, 57% of the working age population. When you look to the youth group, 15 to 24, well, 42% of this group is in education or training. So if you are at the university, as students of university, you are probably part of this group unless you are also working. In that case, you might be. I mean, if you are working, you might be counted also in this group at the same time. If you are at the same time working, that's 36%. And youth not in employment, education, and training, that's 22%. So 22% of the young people are doing nothing basically between the ages 15 and 24. Those people are also not working. Well, you might say it's normal for a 15, 16-year person not to work, but those people are also not in education. Some of them might be probably young women who might be, well, have some responsibilities inside of their parents' houses, or maybe some of them might even have married and have responsibilities in their husbands' houses. So, but there might also be some males in this group. So the total number is 1.2 billion youth working age population. You can see the employment types: wage salaried workers, employ, employers 2%, own account workers, contributing family workers. These are people who are working or contributing for the families. These are, I believe, the people who are working for themselves but not employing other people. We only have 2% of people as employers. They are employing actual people. So those are the freelance people. I mean, sometimes they are told as semi-capitalists, but if you don't have anyone working for you, well, in some way you might say you cannot be, at least you are not an employee in that case. And 39% of the people are working in formal jobs, 61% in informal jobs, 81% of people are non-poor, 12% moderately poor, and 7% extremely poor. But note that extreme poverty and poverty is calculated using these numbers. So, I mean, the non-poor people are just the people who are earning more than $3.2 in PPP terms. I mean, but you might think what US dollar can buy in that amount of dollar can buy in the United States. And that's, I believe, daily income. Yes, daily income. Okay, I passed this one. Well, this is GDP per capita in different countries. But the one thing you can see is from 2000s, the low-income countries have been mostly better off. You might say that maybe the uh, low-income countries, the lowest group, is not that much good, but you should also note that it is starting from a lower point. So actually, in ratio-wise, actually it has almost doubled the GDP per capita. In high-income countries, the increase is more limited, but also note that we don't see the distribution here. I mean, how this increase in GDP per capita has distributed, but the countries become relatively more equal if you look to this table up to 2018. Okay. And this is an interesting table. You can see the productivity growth in different countries. I mean, what is the source of growth? Basically, in the world, between 1999 and 2009, there has been a 4% growth. More than 2% of it is based on the labor productivity, and 1% of it is based on the employment growth. Of course, there's also annual labor force growth, which is also partially responsible for it. So annual labor force growth is 2% and 1%. Actually, we might not see that. Okay, looking to this table, one thing you can see is the labor productivity growth in upper middle income countries and lower middle income countries looks larger, although the actual benefit goes to the upper middle income countries. And it has also grown larger. In the low income countries and the high income countries, the labor productivity growth has been more limited. In the low income countries, somehow some growth is created by the employment growth, which means more people are employed in those countries, basically. This is an interesting graph. It shows you the median age of the labor force, and throughout different years, I mean, this one is the estimation. You can see that median age of the labor force in most places are increasing, but it is lowest in Western Asia, that's Middle Eastern countries included, Central Asia. Um, Europe usually presents a place where the age is highest and expected to be even higher. Southern Europe, especially, like Italy, for example. And when we go further down, well, this is an interesting graph. It shows you labor income share, the total income share of labor. Well, this is United States and uh, India. Although I mean, let's see, there are different methods to calculate this share, and you can learn more on these methods. So numbers by themselves might look a little bit strange, but so when you look to this is global. It gives you a global idea, and it is the labor share is between 45% and 60% in total, basically. It is highest in Americas and lowest in Africa, basically. And throughout 2000s, at least, it has stayed more or less constant. It has increased a little bit in Africa, fallen in the world in general from 55% to um, lower values. Um, but more or less it has stayed stable, the income share of the labor. We have also graph from earlier dates. When you look from the trend from 1961, you can see more or less it has decreased the labor share, although in late 2000 it stays stable. In Canada, a similar trend is visible. In Mexico, the 2000s were the peak, but then you have a decrease. And United Kingdom, you have a drastic decrease, then increase, and then a stabilization. Um, in France, you have a decrease and then a stabilization after 1990s. In Italy, again, a drastic decrease and then a stabilization around 50%. And this is interesting. This is the global average monthly earnings per worker per decile, basically. Looking that I'm at the 8th decile, basically. This is the whole world. Whole world. The 10th decile, that means the top 10%, the bottom of the top 10%, of course, is earning $7,475. That's dollars. If you want to calculate it in Turkish lira, you should multiply it with the exchange rate per month. The lowest decile is earning 22, basically. And you can see actually it is increasing. It's mostly more than doubling. I mean, although it's not that much certain. 8th decile is earning something like 10,000, actually more than 10,000. Basically 14,000 Turkish lira, and that's equivalent of the $18,000 per month. And you can see, you can see the shares here also. 8 deciders getting 10th share. It was getting 10th share in 2004, 11% share. Now the first decile is earning 0.1 share, and the top was earning 55% of the share. It is now earning somewhat less, 48% of the share. When we exclude China and India, where actually I mean the development acts somehow to work together, you can see actually still more or less the shares have been stable between 2004 and 2017. So we are close to 15 minutes mark. We will continue in the next part.